I hit Shior bingo this week.
You did what?
I hit Shior bingo. I'm here all 5 nights this week.
Okay.
I'm not sure he knows what bingo is.
I do. I do
Okay,
too. I'm also
just checking.
What's this? What is the shtus? The shtus is gashmias is bingo.
Bingo.
There's a Hebrew version now.
Okay, let's learn. Let's learn. It's more important. Anias nishmas devora rachel basbarach leib.
Man,
Amen.
What was that? Okay. Okay, we were talking about the Tahara and his tactics of to get you at something small. And that's a first step to go to do more. We understand that, I think. That's the way the Eitzara works many times. Right? So he had said about on page 52. Should be careful, watch yourself. And don't give in to anything. It's important not to give in to anything and not to go with thought, okay, it's not such a big thing, it's okay. Because that's exactly where he wants you. He wants you over there. Because once you do that, so then the next thing is just another little step. Only think of its smallest victory and slightest increase of its power as the biggest misfortune. And it should be very big for you. Oh, I can't believe I did that. He'll never let go of you, so don't yield to anything. As Ramil, although the Yitzhar is eager to trap you, it can be defeated if you stand up to it. Even though it's true that it never gives up, it's actually easy to overcome if you recognize that it's there and if you see how false his arguments are. That's an interesting thing he's saying, because it does say that Koyom v'yom Yitzray Shalodam Miskaber Olav. Every day the Yitzhar gets stronger. Ilmalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Israel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't help us, we couldn't win the battle. So that Gemara, I think it's a Gemara, seems to indicate that the Yitzhar on his own is stronger than us. And we need Siyata D'Shmaya. We need to be Mispalo. We daven that Hashem should remove the sun. But Rav Miller here is looking at it from a different aspect. He says that if you learn to recognize your foe, you learn to recognize the Yetzer Hara, identify him, realize when it's the Yetzer Hara, know his tricks. Like in any battle, you got to know your enemy, you got to know his strategy, and if you do, so then you're in a very strong place, right? You're in a very strong position if you do that. So he says then it's easy to overcome if you recognize it, that it's there, and if you see how false his arguments are. You learn to see the lies, because obviously it's lies. Whatever the Yetzer Hara is telling you is lies. If it was emes, it would be Torah. But the stories people tell themselves, right? It's really the Yetzer Hara. We say stories people tell themselves, but we've already said that the Yetzer Hara and me are not one. So the stories really the Yetzer Hara telling us stories, and we have to learn to recognize the false, they're false. If you face up to it and oppose it, you could win each time. Doesn't mean you're finished with your fight. You'll have to fight it your whole life. That's what we talked about yesterday. That's what our life is for. The whole life is to fight the Yetzer Hara. But you could win without too much effort if you use your mind and understand its basic falsehood. It won't stand against you if you stand up to it. Right? And then again, Rav Miller brings the muster of the Gemara that it's like a fly. And it's very easy to get rid of the fly. You just swish it away. And the thing is that it comes back from the other side and it comes back from the other side. So on one hand, it doesn't give up. On the other hand, you just wave it away with your hand, drive it away, and it comes back to your neck. However, you can get rid of it each time. Don't give up. If you give up, it will remain there and start sucking out your blood, so never give up. As it says the Chovos haLevavos, Chumash, yet you could rule over him. Don't be intimidated. Don't be shooken up by the Yetzer Hara. And no matter how strong are his armies, don't be afraid of it, no matter how many allies it can muster. Don't be afraid of the Yetzer Hara. Okay, it says Ramila, the Yetzer Hara has very many soldiers on all sides to send against you. You should know that our whole environment is enlisted in the service of the Yetzer Hara. Now, this is again, this is the first, what the Messiah Shisham says, that everything in the world is a challenge. Everything in the world is here to challenge us, to be a test to us. Whether it's riches, whether it's poorness. I don't remember the examples he gives, right? But he says everything. And again, with our understanding of what life's about, right? Misha Torach Ber Shabbos Yerichel Shabbos. If you put in the work, this is the Olam Avodah. This is the world where you earn. It's not the world where you get you don't retire here, you don't get your pension here. That's in the next world. So of course, everything in the world is enlisted in the service of the Yetzer Hara. Everything in the world is here to give me challenges, to give me obstacles. I should overcome them and do Avodas Hashem. It's not Avodas Hashem if there's no challenge. It's not an Avodas Hashem if there's the Gro writes, I think in Rus I was told, I never saw it, but I heard it, that a mitzvah that comes easy, you have to suspect it's from the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara, for whatever reason, wants you to do it. Because why
a mitzvah
in the
that comes
world,
easy? A mitzvah that comes easy?
A mitzvah that comes. Because why in the world would the Yetzer Hara let you do a mitzvah? His whole purpose is not to let you do it. Well, why is it so easy? Right?
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I could give you an example they used to always give us in the yeshivas, right? All kind of mitzvahs that come up. The main thing is you should not sit and learn a full seder. It's a mitzvah. Have a mitzvah here, a mitzvah there, a mitzvah there. The Yetzer Hara knows that
the big Indian. It's a big Indian. It's a big Indian. That's the line.
It's what?
Big Indian.
A big Indian.
The big Indian.
The Yetzer Hara knows that Talmud Torah can get kulam. And he'll even give you mitzvahs to do, just don't learn. And you think that you're gavaldik. Just look, I just did this mitzvah, I did. Now, of course, there is halachas, right? A mitzvah that can't be done a day achas, you're chayiv to do it and, close your Gemara to do it. But I'm just saying, if you're looking for examples, these are types of examples. What kind of mitzvahs we do? The main thing is that we all know, the famous Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, that 12 and 12 doesn't equal 24. When Rebbe Kiva came back after 12 years with all his Talmidim, and he overheard a neighbor saying to his wife, "Wow, what kind of husband you had? He left you alone for 12 years." And she said, "Well, if he would listen to me, he would go away for another 12 years." And Rav Chaim Shmulevitz asked, "Well, you're outside of the house, just walk in and say hello. Say, how are you? Thank you for the 12 years. I'm going back to learn another 12 years." What kind of mitzvah is that? You didn't even go in to say hello to your wife. And he says, because 12 and 12 doesn't equal 24. If he would have made a break in his learning, then he had 12 years of learning and 12 years of learning. It's not the same thing as 24. The Yetzer Hara knows how important it is. The Gemara says somewhere, someone who makes his learning piska, like he breaks it up, says bad things about that. So that would be an example. That would be an example that the Yitzhak will give you a mitzvah and it's geschmack to do the mitzvah and I'm having a lot of fun. You don't realize that he wants you to do that mitzvah. One of my rabbeim, when I was in yeshiva here, used to touch up what says in Hashkivenu. I think he said in the name of his Rebbe, we understand that the Satan is in front of us, right? He's there to stop us from doing mitzvahs. He's doing behind us. And he said this, he said, sometimes say the Yitzhak is behind you, pushing you to do mitzvahs. He's pushing you to do mitzvahs because he knows the bounds. He knows he's a businessman. He's a businessman. He knows what's kedai. I'll give you, I'll throw you this, I'll throw you that. Okay, that would be an example. So, because that's how we decide. We're on a job site. We're here to work. Work means work. So everything, the world, when you build a factory, so the architect draws up the plans that it should be a factory. It shouldn't be a luxury home. A luxury home doesn't work well if you're trying to produce cars, and vice versa. If you're looking for a luxury home, you're not going to draw up plans that looks like a factory. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu drew the plans for this world, he was drawing up plans for a world that's going to allow us to maximize our avodas Hashem, which means, a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges, all kind of things, so that we should have a mitzvah and we should be able to serve Hashem. If it's easy, you're not serving Hashem if it's easy, and you're not going to get schar for it either. So therefore, when he says over here, when Rav Vidnum says you should know that our whole environment is enlisted in the service of the Yetzer Hara, it's not a bad thing. It sounds like a depressing thing. It's not. It just means that, and then like I said yesterday, that is the purpose of the Yetzer Hara. The purpose of the Yetzer Hara is to challenge us, but to lose. And when he loses, then he was successful. He fulfilled his job. If he wins, it's like a funny thing. If he wins, he loses. And if he loses, he wins. So our whole environment is enlisted in the service of Yetzer Hara. Everything is a challenge. We have a lot, when we have a little, smart, or not smart. I don't want to start enumerating because you'll be surprised to hear some of the things that are really related to the Yetzer Hara. Once the Mashgiach of Yeshiva brought a bright boy to me, and the boy was fainting. He was fainting because of his doubts and his emunah. He said he passed by a church and began thinking that what they were saying there about Christianity was true. So I asked him if he passed by Brooklyn College, would he also be frightened? After all, they teach evolution, then maybe that's also true. But evolution means there's no God. If you believe in evolution, you can't believe in the church. You believe in the church.
It's not entirely true. There's evolution within Torah itself.
No,
So I don't think that's a direct way of doing it.
He means the evolution they teach in college.
That's not the evolution, right? The evolution they're talking about is Darwin, that stuff. If you believe in the church, you can't believe in evolution. If you use a little common sense, it's as easy as it could be. He's just saying, just like Christianity is sheker, Muhammad is sheker, evolution is sheker. It's all sheker with a little bit of common sense. A person will understand that all the arguments of the Yetzer Hara are worthless. And we're meant to see that. And we've gone through it. Shara Bechina, we've gone through it. We all know the emes of Judaism, Matan Torah, all of Klal Yisrael, millions of people being the revelation, unlike any of the other religions that, like one person came and told a story, he had a dream, he had a story. He sold the luxury. Right? But we know the human eye, if a man will only use his common sense and challenge the whole idea of evolution that the Yetzer Hara uses as a weapon. Again, today that's not so relevant. I don't think that's the topic. The world isn't talking about evolution anymore so much. But today they more believe in the Big Bang Theory, right? And I remember when Dr. What was
it's a marvelous television show. Yeah.
Sorry. Organovsky, remember that that guy came to speak about the Big Bang Theory, Dr.
Schroeder,
right? And he said, he was showing how many, this is at least what he holds, right? How the Ramban refers to it, how the Rishonim, that this concept is brought in Torah. But he said that he posted on the internet, there's a think place that all the big professors could post the questions they don't have answers to. And he posted, okay, the Big Bang Theory, but what kicked it off? What was like, and he said he's still waiting. Nobody has an answer for that, right? Because the only answer is you got to admit that there's a God, there's a power from beforehand that did it. But the Maisa, right? So there also, you can believe Big Bang Theory, but if you give it thought, you have to
Oh,
put
shit.
it into the, whoa. You have to put into the equation HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it just doesn't work.
That was today's stuff.
What's that?
That was today's stuff.
That was
Using-
today's stuff. I didn't
using
learn today's stuff yet.
using
Okay.
swear words to describe Avodah Zarah. And
Ah,
it said shin tough specifically, or shin tough. Forget. It's very surprising.
okay. All right. He would argue that any eye is far too complex to have been formed by accident. The human eye is more capable than any color camera in the world. Can a color camera be accidental result of winds blowing, rain falling, earthquakes shaking over 10 million years? It's the most stupid thing to say. Therefore, with common sense, anyone can see that evolution is a lie with no foundation at all. And the same thing, if you look at the different other religions. Today, there's videos posted. To watch one or two recently, on YouTube by Christians that became Jews that converted. And, basically the story's all the same. Once they started thinking and looking at the New Testament, they saw it. It's full of holes. There's no, it doesn't work, if you start thinking. So what Rav Miller is saying is that the Yetzer Hara, in one hand, is very easily disowned. Ika Kavanosa in page 55, the Amis Hasheka, his chief intent is to make truth out of falsehood. Its main purpose is to uphold deception as honesty. Now, it doesn't have, I'm just thinking, right? I'm looking at this first time now. It's not only the Yetzer Hara, when you talk about religion or evolution, those are big topics, right? But it's true for every battle of the Yetzer Hara, because the Yetzer Hara's arguments are false. Any Yetzer Hara is false. And but he convinces you that it's real, that it's good, that it's the right thing to do. In any given Yetzer Hara, it can't be emes. If it's emes, then you're supposed to. Anytime you're challenged by the Yetzer Hara, any taivus achila, taivus noshim, any taivus, right? The Yetzer Hara is working overtime to convince you that it's okay, it's not so bad, it's only once, it'll be okay. Whatever arguments he uses to make us do any avera. The way he does is by convinces us that it's okay, that it's emes, that it's okay to do it in this case. It won't hurt you. That all the arguments, and we just have to train ourselves to see that that's not true. How close is its defeat? How quickly is its destruction? And if you recognize this weakness. Right, the weakness is that it's all stands al sheker. Right, Gemara says that sheker doesn't have it's a shin kuf reish. It only has one leg. It can't stand. While emes, all the letters have two legs, so they stand. Sheker doesn't have raglayim. It can't stand. So if we recognize that the Yetzer Hara is all sheker, we find its weakness. Then it says, I was saying, it's easy to overcome it.
Yeah, but there's so much in there of determining what is sheker, or you can have two dissenting opinions, and therefore one would otherwise be sheker. It seems to be exceptionally challenging on that. It's not like, oh, eating treif, eating pig versus eating, eating something that's kosher. You can talk about. It seems like I understand the core of what you're trying to enumerate, but it just seems like that we could be closing ourselves off to something that actually might be another form of MS. Not, I know I'm saying it's opening up a can of worms, but it's
No,
just what comes to mind.
look, you're right. So many times, that's where we have Rabbeim, and that's where we have Gedolim, and that's, like I said the other day, even we have friends, because the Yitzhak is very persuasive, and that many times it's hard for us to recognize the sheker or the emes, and we need to turn to other people to help us, who are not biased because they're not under attack, right?
There's bias in everything.
What's that? There's bias in everything.
100%. If I ask you something, you're going to tell me from your hashkafa. And if I ask someone who's not of your age, they'll give me their hashkafa. Those could be conflicting opinions, right?
That's true. But let's hope. I mean, let's make believe. I hope also. Let's make believe. Okay. Let's make believe that my hashkafas are based on what it says in the Torah. Right? Let's make believe that I'm a very big person, and I've done my work. And I've been, I have Gedolim as my Rabbeim, and have so then I know I have the emes. And if someone disagrees, again, if it's within the realm of Torah, so we know there's machlokes, we know divrei Elokim Chaim, Elu ve'Elu Chaim, but anything that doesn't fit into what's Torah's emes is sheker, no matter what someone says, and no matter his arguments. That's the way it is.
I mean, if you want to get really political about it, we can talk about Neturei Karta versus anyone who believes in the state, and then he can turn it to a higher thing. So what's the emes? What's the sheker?
Right.
Gedolim here, Gedolim there, and so I mean,
right. That's right. You're right. There are conflicting opinions by Gedolim. There's Satmar and there's us, right? But the famous Hesped. You must say don't know the famous Hesped. There was a famous Hesped when Rabbi Aaron Kotler Zatzal was nifter. Rabbi Aaron Kotler and the Satmar Rebbe did not see eye to eye, especially about Eretz Yisrael and Medina and things like that. They were they argued quite a bit. And when Rabbi Aaron was nifter, the Satmar Rebbe asked permission to come to the Levaya because he was afraid it would create, a disturbance. What's he doing at the Levaya? And when he got permission, he asked permission if he could be maspid.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, of course, the Satmar Rebbe. No one disagreed that he was a gadol, right? And his hesped basically, the whole hesped was, and he got up and he was mamish crying, and he said, they asked Cain Aaron, the pasuk says that Aaron did like that, and Rashi says, that he didn't change. He said, Rabbi Aaron had his Messiah from his Rabbeim and his Rabbeim up to Har Sinai. And Rav Aaron was representing emes. The fact that the Satmar Rebbe had a different Messiah, but it was also a true Messiah, right? There is place within the realm of Torah for two opinions. I might argue Torah is for 600,000 people, right? We accepted the Torah as 600 people, and each person's different, and each person has a different chalik. As long as it's rooted in a true Messiah, and we're talking. This is an example of two gedolim, then it's all emes. But we have to realize that we're ketanim, and a lot of times what we think is wrong. We're just saying it because the Yetzer Hara has entrapped us in his spider web, and we think that we're representing emes, and we're not. So we have to be careful. You have to be careful. That's why you have Rabbeim. That's why you have gedolim to make sure that you're within the Dal Amos of Halacha. Within the Dal Amos of Halacha, there could be a machlokes. That's what Torah is all about. Okay.
Rabbi Granovsky's famous line, and we Ravosai are the Tachtonim.
That's true.
What's that?
Right? It was talking about the Gedalim, and we're the Tachtonim. That's true.
Yeah. But I say, who's career services too? Who are you?
I asked the same question.
That's me, Ari Bishop, sir.
Uh,
I didn't realize
Wow, Aryeh, Shalom
I teach on the side, different programs on Sundays for an organization, a Sephardi organization called SPH.
Oh, Sephardic
Wow.
Baker
I
Coleman.
haven't logged into there. I didn't realize. I'm in the office now. I don't know which
Did you-
login I was using.
Did you just join from the Facebook link?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you very
welcome.
much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Say hello to Shlomo Lieberman.
Hello, Shlomo Lieberman.
I don't see these names.
You're at Sephardic Baker Coleman, right?
Yeah. I teach there.
He's the interim director.
Sure.
Oh. He was an RW
Up,
also,
Ari.
right? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right, Bitsy, it's so
Rabbi,
nice
good
to
to see
hear
you.
your voice.
Bitsy.
Aryeh.
Likewise. Good to
Wow.
see everybody here.
Okay. Join us more
Yaakov
often.
Walk, Robert Ganofsky, the other people. Nice to meet you. Ari Bishop, sir.
Yeah,
What
I
year
don't
were
see-
you?
Where are you?
I'm in Florida right now.
I don't see, you were in Chicago, weren't you? In South Bend?
No,
Me?
no,
I don't
no.
remember. Maybe not.
New York, Brooklyn, Queens, whatever.
Who?
Okay, where in Florida? I'm gonna be there in 2 months.
Oh, nice.
Sorry
I
to
live
hear
in
that.
Boca
All right.
Raton. I work in Jupiter.
Okay, so send us your email
Okay.
and your phone number and everything else.
Sure, of course.
I don't see you. Where are you?
Ah, man.
Do I see everybody here? Maybe
He's wearing an invisibility
Let's
cloak.
take myself out. Hi.
Oh, I see. That's true too. I see you.
I'm losing my
Alright.
hair.
Yeah, so am I. I'm not losing it. I don't have any.
No comments.
You're a young one.
Oh,
You're
good turn.
young. You gotta join the
Sorry,
club.
let me know where you are and I'll come visit you in Boca. I'll go to Boca for sure.
Awesome.
And let us
Looking
meet in
forward
Boca.
to
At
Can
least.
I stop the recording or just
Oh,
let it
come in
go?
Boca.
I didn't
All
hear
right,
you.
I don't plan on being in Boca in 2 months. I plan on being in Yerushalayim, so you're welcome to visit us.
Thank you. I wish I
Okay?
could.
I have no plans of going over there. Anybody
The-
wants?
The elementary school in Boca,
You're
one
always
of them
welcome.
is my Talmud. Ruben Feinberg is the principal.
Right, Ruben Feinberg, sure.
I'm right near by the Young Israel, by Central Boca.
I don't know the geography well enough. All I know he's in one part of Boca and there's another part of Boca. That's all I know.
It's as much as I know too. I'm learning it.
Okay, at least you like the weather, but better than New York.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. I love it.
No, the summer's nice.
Yerushalayim, come to Yerushalayim
It's
weather.
nice, but it's cold here.
Not cold, it's
Yes.
beautiful.
It's a
Cold
cold
here.
Put on the heat if you felt.
It's okay. It's a dry
Okay.
cold.
No, it's still cold.
Sorry, send us all the information. We'll keep in touch.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'm
Good
looking
Have
to
a
forward
see
to
good
it.
you.
Shabbos, everybody.
Good to see you. All right, and Yeshama should have an aliyah, Brian.
Amen.
All right.
Who's the
Yeah,
show?
sure.
My mother.